All right, the Remington TAC 14 review video. Let's jump straight into some specs. So if you're not familiar with this type of firearm, this is a pistol grip only, pump action, 12 gauge. Other is the classification of the firearm. And some specs on it. The overall length is just over 26 inches. It has a weight of approximately 6 pounds, and the MSRP is around $500. Now, these types of firearms are very cool. They're relatively new to the market. Mossberg's definitely was leading the way at the beginning, coming out with these pistol grip type firearms, and Remington was right behind them. Now, this particular model is the Hardwood, and man, is it cool. It is definitely something new that I haven't seen before, and so when I saw this, I was like, wow, that's, it's a very nice looking firearm compared to all the tactical stuff that we see today. And that has its place. Those are very cool, but there's just something about, a more classic design with the wood furniture. So some definite pros, some things I really like about it, of course, is the wood. Let's just get that over with first. This is definitely, it's not a walnut. I would say it's probably a birch, but they finished it very well. It's some kind of dark stain with a semi-gloss or satin finish over top. Beautiful firearm. Definitely something that you're not just going to load out with a bunch of tactical stuff on it. I think it looks really nice as it is. And if you'll notice, with the chrome bolt and the safety, there's actually several modifications that have already been done, some upgrades that I've done to this firearm, and that's going to be coming out in part 2 of this series. So be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more videos on this firearm. But in general, the finish is nice. If I had to classify, I don't think it's any kind of bluing. I mean, I think they call it like a matte blue finish, and maybe that's what it looks like, but it scratches pretty easily. In general, as long as the finish doesn't rust without excessive oil on it, it's good to go in my book. These are coming out at a pretty good price, and you can't expect the high polished bluing that we used to get, especially from Remington. But the quality is definitely there. Now, between the Mossbergs and the Remingtons, the action on these Remingtons they're just like glass. If you notice, the pump really doesn't move, doesn't rattle around very much. The Mossbergs, you'll notice, have a lot of play. And there's a lot of different opinions on Mossberg and 870s. I'm not bashing the Mossberg. They're great firearms, but if you just notice the action on this, it's just glass. It's so smooth, really satisfying. You can be very quick with this pump. And in general, there are some features that I do prefer on the Mossbergs, but in general, I tend to gravitate towards the Remingtons. So the action, super slick. The safety location it's consistent with all 870s. So you really have to handle both a Mossberg and an 870 and develop an opinion on them. To me, this is the far superior safety. A lot of Mossberg fans, they love the Tang safety, and those are great. But Remington, you can get aftermarket safeties that they stick out much further, and it's just the fastest way. You can just sweep your finger, safety's off. Basically, if you go towards the trigger and go to pull the trigger, the safety's gonna just passively disengage, and I really like that. I think it's way better in my opinion, especially with something like this where you're not shouldering it. So to remove your thumb from a solid grip and try to actuate that and then fire, I mean, you could easily slide up on the gun. These are definitely a handful, and so every advantage I think you can get, you should take. It does have the plastic trigger guard, which the police magnums and the older Remingtons, they had the aluminum one, the aluminum trigger guard, and to me, I don't think it's a deal breaker. On a Mossberg, I think it is. It may actually be a deal breaker for me. The way that they have it designed, they have just a single pin in the rear. If you notice, there's 2 pins on this trigger assembly, and the Mossberg kind of tongues into the receiver. Now, if it were to be struck on a sideways strike, I think that definitely could be an issue. On this, I'm not worried about it whatsoever. I really do like what they, the route they went with this sling attachment. On this model, you get the +1 extension tube, which is great. So this holds 5 rounds in the tube, and you could have one in the chamber, although I don't recommend leaving a round in the chamber on a shotgun. That'll be coming in a later video. But I think it's pretty cool. It really harkens to the witness protection model. That's definitely what Remington was going for. I'm sure they had all the old drawings and designs for the witness protection model, and they figured, hey, it meets this requirement, so we might as well produce it. And I'm really glad they went that route. If any dislikes I would have to say about it, it is pretty difficult to shoot. This is consistent with all of these pistol grip firearms. Aiming it, you have your bead sight, and that's definitely very simple and easy to use, but you really don't want to put this up to your face with full power buckshot or slugs. So I wish there was some better laser options out there. I think that a laser option for this would be very cool, but I don't want to do the laser guard from Crimson Trace. It would mess up the look of the firearm. So maybe something will come out in the future. And loading, in general, again, a lot of these criticisms are going to be 870 versus Mossberg related, but the loading gate on these it has the lifter in the way. So you have to defeat the lifter with the shell and basically slide the shell into the tube. It's not ideal. It definitely is a little more fumbly. You can get used to it, but something to keep in mind when you're looking at your options. The action lock, I don't mind it. It is on the front of the trigger guard where my pointer finger is here, but really I have no complaints. I'm used to it, although it would be nice if it was at the rear, how the Mossberg made their design. And really, overall, this thing, I just can't get over the looks of it. I think Remington did a great job producing this. And like I said, there's going to be a part 2 video of modifications that you should do to really any Remington 870 to really make them more robust, more in line with the Police Magnum versions. So that'll be part 2 video of the modifications I've done and future modifications coming down the line. And so I thank you for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up down below the video. And again, this is, like I said, this is part 1 of a 5-part series on the TAC 14. So please subscribe and stay tuned for more. Thanks.